Good morning and welcome to your Financial Empower Hour. This is Jason Cryderman with Great Lakes Investment Advisors. Tony Shore, happy Monday to you. I know as I say that all the time, our listeners are like, wait a minute, it's only Sunday and Jason just said Monday. And it is kind of confusing. And I confuse myself sometimes when I say that. But again, as you and I, Tony, as we record these shows on Monday mornings, and then they go through editing and compliance approval and actually then air the following Sunday. So you and I always have to say happy Monday to each other. We always catch up on how was last week in your professional life, in your personal life. How's the family? What did you do over the weekend? Summer is dwindling down, Tony. It's crazy. I know your kids will talk about family, and that's kind of what reminds us that summer is dwindling down is all of a sudden it's fair week, the Midland County Fair, and then all of a sudden it's school. And once the fair and school hit, summer's over. And as we talk about your kids being a few years older than my kids, how is that? Do you remember that transition when they were still in school? And what's it like now where you and your wife really realize, wow, summer's over? Because you probably have a little, maybe a longer summer or less of a break as far as a immediate break to, okay, summer's over, school's back in. Because again, your kids are older than ours.
Yeah. Well, we still go to the fair, and that seems like a summer thing to us. So that's really not an indicator. Although if we stopped and thought about it, it's like, well, once that fair is over and the state fair is over, then summer's over. However, what does it for me is, Jason, this past weekend, I watched NFL football. Live games. That's what tells me it's like, wait a minute, NFL football, it's going to be winter. We're going to be in blizzard conditions here pretty soon.
First of all, slow down, Tony. The blizzard stuff, the winter stuff, slow down for a little bit. I mean, it seems like we didn't enjoy summer yet, and now we're in the fall. And this, you're right, football weather, right? Football season. This is my favorite time of year. I love summer. I love the four seasons really here in Michigan, but I truly love summer. I really think fall, though, is my favorite time of year.
Mine too.
I love the mornings when you wake up and it's a little crispy and I love the first day and the first evening or morning where you got to put jeans on and a hoodie. When you put jeans and a hoodie and tennis shoes on, that tells me, okay, it's football season. The other thing that really resonates with me, and especially with Carson, deer hunting season. Once fall hits, once these leaves start changing, once it's football season, that also reminds us that it's hunting season as well. So Carson and I get very excited about this time of year for football and hunting. And it's crazy to believe that as our listeners are listening to this show on next Sunday, our kids are getting ready to go back to school. Lexi's going off to Michigan State, and and Carson and Josie are going to be starting on the 19th at Meridian, and that's it. I mean, once school's in, then it's football season, it's cheerleading season, it's band season, and again this year we have a different dynamic because we'll be heading down to East Lansing quite often with Lexi being a freshman down there and competing on the cheer stunt team. So
first year in college, that's awesome.
Yep, it's our first one. It's been some emotional times especially for Mama in the household.
Letting them go isn't always easy.
No, it's not. Know that our baby girl is leaving the nest, so to speak, and we'll see how everything goes.
Yeah, it's a crazy time, and it's just flown by this year. Again, we say this all the time. It's flown by. So, but you've got a lot of great things going on with the family. I like that. I do as well. In fact, my middle daughter and I, everybody else was busy, but we went down to see my parents again this weekend.
Oh, did you really?
Last weekend, but I went back down just because they need a lot of help these days. So drove down there, and I'm glad my daughter had a chance to go with because she loves grandma and grandpa, and they love seeing her. So that was very helpful. It's good to have another adult there. She's 22 and very mature, and she's very good with them and working with them. So that's very helpful for me, and it makes the trip go by faster.
I bet
too.
It does.
It's a 3.5 hour drive each way. So that's 7 hours in the car. So that helps.
That makes for a long trip by yourself. For sure.
Yeah. A lot of times it does.
And I know the age is quite different there between your daughter being 22 and then my daughter's being 18 and 15. But Tony, so far what I've understood from all my friends, all my family, no matter how old our baby girls get, that daddy-daughter time, that time you got to spend 7 hours in the car with her back and forth, those special talks you have, even the quiet time.
Yeah.
Daddy-daughter time. There's something really special about
There's
that. So
nothing like it in the free world. It
there's
was it's
not.
so awesome, and I love spending time with my kids. So that was great, especially just the daddy-daughter time is fantastic.
Yep,
It
it
really
is.
is. And it doesn't matter how old they are. Even as they get older, that time is it's even more precious,
Well, it's even
really.
more because it's those hours and minutes are less and less, right?
Few
Because
and
now,
far between.
yeah, they're
Yep.
moving out, they're getting kind of
Yeah.
moving on with their own
Yeah.
personal lives and school and careers and everything, and just leaves less time for
Yeah.
mom and dad. And so
Yeah.
any precious moments we can get, I tell my kids even at this age, is any precious moments I can get with them, I'm going to steal it away because you just never know how many you got left.
Right, exactly. It's huge, and so that was good. And again, August fall is my favorite too. We're not there yet, but we're headed into fall.
We're getting
August is
close.
kind of the we're halfway through August as of the airing of the show, which is crazy to think about.
Crazy to think of that. It really
Yeah,
is. I mean,
yeah,
it's just
it's nutty. And there's a lot going on out there. I mean, the markets have actually been pretty steady. I know we're going to have
yeah.
in a couple of weeks, I think we're having a guest from Gradient Investments on to talk about the state of the markets and what's going on. So
Yeah, that's going to be a really exciting show. As you mentioned, markets have been doing fairly well this year. I mean, it's
yeah,
started out a little volatile beginning of the year when
yeah,
President Trump said the T word, the whole tariffs, and
yeah,
things got a little volatile, a little rocky there for a while. But overall, since then, since March, April timeframe, market has been pretty darn strong to come back, and then pretty stabilized right now, I think. And it is awesome when we get to have portfolio managers from Gradient Investments be on the show. And as you mentioned, I believe it's in 2 weeks, within the next week to two. So keep an eye, listeners and viewers, keep an eye on the show. And but we are going to have not only one, but we're going to have two portfolio managers on the same show from Gradient Investments. So that'll be a really cool show. Hearing kind of two perspectives, one of them kind of from a veteran there, and then one of them from what I'll call a fresher mind, fresher set of eyes on the portfolios there at Gradient Investments. So that'll be a really good show. And I think coming into the third and fourth quarter here of this year, as far as a market standpoint goes, things seem right now, anyhow, they seem pretty stable. Things seem pretty solid right now.
yeah.
Obviously, there's still volatility and uncertainty, as there is in every aspect every day. But things are, I think, kind of smoke has settled from the earlier part of the year, the volatility, and rates are kind of staying there. Things are just, I think we're in a good holding pattern right now. Hopefully we make it through a smooth end of the year and then ramp things up for the holiday season and jump into 2026 with some of the new tax law benefits and extensions from the old big beautiful bill. But I think things are, I think anyhow, and I hope so, that we're in a pretty comfortable place right now when we talk about the overall markets and the economy.
Yeah, right now the outlook is pretty optimistic, but we'll see what they say here in a week or two when we get them on the show as well, because you're right, and we'll get their perspectives. But so far, you're right; it's great, and if things keep heading in the same direction as they are right now, we're looking good, and I appreciate you weighing in on that. So I know that a lot of people out there, though, are still concerned about, things like interest rates and inflation.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about that a lot on the show. But, a big part of what you do for your clients and people out there is retirement income planning.
Yes.
And retirement planning. And that's why we save money and invest money, because we're going to live on that money once we retire. So, for our listeners and viewers out there, you've got a great topic lined up for us today. Pensions. We're going to talk pensions. Well, what's a pension? For those fortunate enough out there to have a pension, if you work for a really big company that still offers pensions, or you work for the government, you probably have a pension. The rest of us, not so lucky. We're just dealing with 401ks, which we've also talked a lot about on the show. But I know you want to focus on pensions today. It's a timely topic for a lot of people out there in our community. But before we do that, I want to take a quick moment and a quick break to let our listeners know if they have questions about things they hear on today's show, or if they just want to get their own plan in place or get a second opinion on where they're at financially, they can just give us a call. I know you're offering a copy of your book, Empower Your Retirement, and set up a no charge, no obligation consultation. How about we give away some copies of the book and some consultations?
That'd be a great idea.
All right. Well, all they have to do is call you at greatlakesinvestmentadvisors.com, and the number is 989-835-7203. That's 989-835-7203. The first 10 people to contact the office and either leave a message or talk to somebody and let them know they want a copy of your book. It's a great book, Empower Your Retirement. They just need to call that number. And they can also, at the same time, set up a consultation. Then they can just get the book handed to them when they come in and get some questions answered. Again, there's no charge, no obligation. 989-835-7203. And we're going to be right back with more of your Financial Empower Hour after this. All right, we're rolling today with your Financial Empower Hour. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. I'm here with our host, the man with the plan, Jason Cryderman. Jason, let's jump into our main topic for today, and that's pensions. I always make the joke, the pension has gone the way of the pension. It used to be the buffalo, but they've brought bison back in this country. There really isn't. They're not extinct anymore, or in danger of going extinct. There's still not as many of them as I think people would like, but people raise bison, and
they're definitely
so now instead of saying it's gone the way of the buffalo, we say it's gone the way of the pension, because a lot of people are not fortunate enough to have pensions, and a lot of companies out there who have had a pension in place are offering their employees buyouts or getting rid of it, right?
Yeah, no, that's so true. And you mentioned, the pension is going the way of the pension. It's kind of a good way to put it. So, and the common word is extinction, right? I mean, it's very few people are left with a solid pension nowadays compared to what it was 15 or 20 years ago, or even longer. So we look at our parents or some of our grandparents, and they probably retired with a very comfortable pension. So let me first of all define what is a pension. Well, a pension is a regular payment made during a person's retirement from an investment fund to which the person or their employer has contributed during their working life. So to simplify that, it means while you were working, maybe you had an option to put into a pension, but probably more common was your employer was putting money away every year into a pension fund for you. And then at some point in time, when you're retired, you'd be able to pull income, living money, meaning on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, annually, but you'd be able to pull a paycheck during retirement called a pension. And most people, let's go back 15, 20 years ago, Tony, most people wanted a pension as part of their retirement income. And then another part of retirement income would be Social Security. And we call it the three-legged stool, the three legs of income of your retirement. Most back in the day, we had pension was one leg, we had Social Security was one leg, and then your investments, your own personal savings investments. That was the third income leg of your income stool in retirement. Well, fast forward to more recently, and we're finding a lot of two-legged stools out there. And I don't know about you, Tony, but to me, two-legged stools don't sound like they'd be very stable. Pretty hard to support a good retirement income, a good retirement lifestyle, and just two income legs. And the reason we're losing or missing a leg to that retirement income stool is because, just as you mentioned, Tony, a lot of employers are no longer offering pension as part of their employment package. They're just getting rid of them altogether. And we're seeing year after year, more employers are even doing what they call pension buyouts, where they're allowing current or previous employers to buy out, meaning take out their pension, so that the employer doesn't have to pay that over their lifetime. So there's a lot of changes happening in the pension world over the last 5, 10, 15 years or so. And you're absolutely right, Tony. Less and less employees like you and me have pensions anymore. Our parents, our grandparents, they still might, but a lot less of the younger generations, more recent employees, a lot less of us have these pension options from our employers.
Well, yeah, I've never had the benefit of having a pension, and
Nor have I.
yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. Well, you own your own company; you'd just be paying yourself anyway. So,
Well, even before that, I've been, 23 years now as a financial advisor. Before that, I had two or three different jobs. My initial career starts, and there was some pretty big Fortune 500 companies, and even at those levels there was people that had been employed with those companies 5 years or longer. They did have some pensions. However, when I was coming in at entry level at those positions over 20 some years ago, one of my benefits was not that I didn't get a pension. I was not going to, any of the employers I was at before becoming a financial advisor, they didn't offer pensions. And that was 25, 26 years ago, Tony. So less and less employers now are offering these pensions. So what they've done is, in essence, is they've thrown the burden, the responsibility of preparing for your future and assuring you have a guaranteed monthly paycheck. That's really what a pension is, a guaranteed monthly paycheck for as long as you live. These employers have thrown 100% of that burden and responsibility onto the employee. So if they don't offer you a guaranteed pension, paycheck, and retirement, who's going to provide that for you? Well, you are the employee. So what that forces you to do is there's two types of retirement plans. We have the defined contribution plan and the defined benefit plan. Well, the defined benefit plan, those are the old pensions. That was defined when you retired, you would have a guaranteed benefit, meaning a guaranteed monthly paycheck. That was the benefit part, and that was defined. It was defined and in writing in stone. Well, the defined contribution plan says you have an opportunity to contribute to an employer-sponsored plan, like a 401k, 403b, 457, those types of accounts. So that's where really the shift has gone for retirees is less and less employees are going to have the defined benefit plans, the pensions, and more and more of the employees, the responsibility and the burden now is thrown on our shoulders to put our own money into these retirement plans, these 401ks, 403bs, what have you, invest those over our working years, and then invest those properly into our retirement years to be able to pull off our own pension, if you will,
right,
guaranteed monthly paycheck, and then make sure that lasts as long as you live, because that's what a pension was designed to do, and maybe even choose an option where that money lasts not only as long as you live, but as long as your spouse lives if they continue to live longer than you do. And ultimately, when you're gone, what's going to be left to go to your family? So there's a lot of changes that have happened over the years. And there's been a lot of, as you mentioned, especially recently, there's been a lot of employers, corporations, or businesses that are just kind of getting out of the pension world. And so they're doing buyouts, and there's a lot of choices and options that people have. And that's why I like spending a lot of time on my radio show, during my seminars, or on phone calls or one-on-one visits to walk people through what are your choices, what are your options, and how might it impact you today, and especially you and your family later on in life.
Well, yeah, there you go. And I really think, Jason, that you make a great point. And unfortunately, I think it's unfortunate that the burden has went from the employer to the employee on
100%.
funding their retirement and taking care of it, because the transition was made without a lot of education. That was before the internet or podcasts or videos or people took a job and they're like, I think I'll be better off if, when you get your first job out of college and you're 20, 22 years old, are you going to, back then, especially like in the, when I was in my 20s in the 80s, I didn't know, okay, I've got to start immediately putting in like 6% of my paycheck minimum to be on track for retirement. I didn't start doing that. Most people I know did not start doing that. Hindsight's 2020. Now I say, man, I wish I had, my daughter's putting $300 a month into a Roth IRA. She's going to be set for retirement.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
No, I think
she's
you're right.
20, and she's 22. Had I done that, holy cow. Of course, did I, first of all, even if I had known, did I have the discipline? I don't know that.
Right.
I don't have the drive or discipline she does. I didn't anyway back then. Now I know. Now I do. But
Well, and
you
now
know.
here we are playing catch up, right? A lot of people
Yes,
end up playing catch up,
that's what I'm doing.
especially like if you had an employer that did provide you with a pension, and then something happened throughout your career there, and they got rid of the pension. They took it away, where they did a pension buyout, and they allowed you to move your pension out potentially as a lump sum, or even roll it out as a lump sum to another financial tool like a current 401k or an IRA. Well, if you thought you had this pension and all of a sudden the company's getting rid of that, again, that throws the burden and responsibility onto you. Do you take that money out, put it in an IRA, and then what do you do with it? Or do you just leave it there and settle, so to speak, settle for what they're going to do with that money and how and when they're going to pay it out to you? And so pensions could be one of the most critical financial choices that any employee will ever make if you have a pension option available when you retire, or if you have a pension buyout option. Those could be two of the most critical financial decisions you'll ever make with any investment from your employer or from you.
Yeah. So, yeah, and we're talking about two things that are kind of one and the same, and we'll get into those options in our next segment. But we're talking about a pension election,
Yep.
where the standard pension, people could decide, okay, do I want the pension where I get X amount, and that's for my lifetime,
Correct.
or do I get a slightly lower amount, but it also will extend to my wife's
Husband or wife. Yep.
life,
Absolutely.
rest of her
Mhm.
life as well, or his life as well.
Yep.
So it'll cover both me and my spouse as long as we live, but it's a little lower than if it just covers me. And then, or do I take a buyout amount? So
Correct.
sometimes, and that third option wasn't always there. Usually, it was the other two options. Some didn't have those options. Even it was just you took it. You got a lifetime
Mhm.
pension. But sometimes there's three options, and now we're seeing a lot of buyouts. Like, hey, we're going to stop doing the pension,
Correct.
or we want to offer you a buyout now, even when you're still working.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about there's companies locally there that are doing this right now, and a lot of
That's
people
correct.
are
Yep.
trying to figure it out. So let's get into that when we after this quick break, to let people know. Yes, we're going to give away 10 more copies of Jason's book, Empower Your Retirement. The first 10 people to request one, either by phone or by contacting us through a contact form on the web. And just when we reach back out, if it's through the web, say, I want a book. If you're one of the next 10 that reaches out, you'll get a copy of the book sent to you at no cost, no postage, nothing. Or call 989-835-7203. That's 989-835-7203. You have to mention you heard about it on the show, Your Financial Empower Hour. I heard about it on Jason's show. Can I get a copy of the book? And can I set up a consultation? Even better, ask questions, meet with Jason and his team there and get a plan in place, or have them look at where you're at and see what you need to do, especially if you've got a pension option. Sit down with his team, Jason and his team there at Great Lakes Investment Advisors, because this is such an important decision. And we're going to talk about that again here. But that number to call, 989-835-7203. And this is Your Financial Empower Hour. I am your co-host, Tony Shore, and he is the man with the plan, Jason Cryderman. And speaking of plans, Jason, you are the one that's here to help people understand how they don't make a costly mistake. So there are local companies right now offering people buyouts, or a pension election, or a buyout even. But what should they decide to do? They have to look at what their options are and then make a decision that's best for their needs. If they're married or their spouse is still alive, that is a huge aspect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. If there's a lot of people that face these decisions every single day of the week, if you have a employer sponsored pension, when you get ready to retire, you have to make the decision when you want to take your pension. And then if they allow you to defer that, you might be able to defer taking income for some time. And you're going to also want to decide if you take what's called a single life, which is the highest monthly income for you, but it also that income ends at your death. Or if you want to take a reduced income, which means you could do a joint life. So you could actually say, gee, I'll take a little less income now so that after I die, my spouse still continues to get that income from my previous employer. But these are all options you have when you get ready to take a pension. You also are finding out, or we are also finding out now with a lot of companies out there, not only locally, but across the US, companies are going to current employers and current employees. Companies are going to current employees and even past employees, and they're offering what's called a pension buyout. I've been helping a lot of people around town lately here in the office that have said, gee, I didn't even know I had a pension from my current or my previous employer until I got this letter in the mail. Says I have some pension options. What do I do? And I think it's important, Tony, as you pointed out, to get advice, get help from a financial professional that is familiar with what these choices and options are. And you also want to make sure you're looking at the big picture. How will these choices impact your income now, income in the future, taxation now, taxation in the future, healthcare options and choices, Social Security options and choices, other sources of investment or income, your spouse's income when you make this decision, because most of these decisions, once you make them, they're permanent. they're set in stone. They're final. They don't allow you to go back. So you really should be getting a second opinion, working with somebody who's willing to assess your situation, look at all your goals and objectives, that they are familiar with what these choices are and what they mean, what the impacts will be to you and your family, not only today, but later in life. And then make sure you're making the decisions that are in your best interest. I know I have a lot of different clients, a lot of different friends around the area, and they say, well, I'm going to take option A because that's what Jim did, and that's what Bill did, and that's what Susie did. And sometimes option A, just because that's what someone else did, sometimes that's not what's in your family's best interest. So again, make a phone call, have an office visit, whether it's with myself, another member of my team, or another advisor. But yeah, you really want to pay attention to these options because you can choose if you're allowed to take a lump sum. I want to talk about the pros and cons real quick, Tony.
Yeah, let's talk about the lump sum because Jason, I think that's a big one for a lot of people, and it's always tempting because some companies are offering it to employees that aren't even retired yet. Like, hey, take your pension now, a lump sum will pay you right now, or if they're retiring, or even employees that have already retired, they're going to them saying, hey, instead of paying out this pension to you or continuing to pay it out, we would like to offer you a lump sum.
Yes.
So, let's talk about that somewhat. You said there's pros and cons to that, taking a lump sum if offered that for your pension, right? It's basically a buyout, right?
Yeah, it's a buyout basically. So what they'll do is they'll come to you and say, option A is leave it right where it is. And in X amount of years, when you get ready to turn on your pension, you're going to get X amount of dollars per month for the rest of your life. That's a standard pension. But a lot of these corporations are trying to reduce the debts on the debts and liabilities on their balance sheet side. So they're saying, hey, we'll allow you to walk away right now. Go ahead and take a lump sum, and it's X dollar amount, right? They're saying, take away this lump sum, and you could just walk away, and then we don't have to worry about paying you and potentially your spouse a pension for the next 20, 30, 40 years or more. So it's a way for these corporations to try to balance out some debts and liabilities of their balance sheet. Some of the pros and cons. First of all, it really depends on your unique individual or family position. How much income do you have? When will you need income? How much will you have in retirement? There's so many variables that come into play that you should be really assessing and analyzing to which option you take. Do you leave it there, get the guaranteed pension income payouts later in life, or do you take advantage of the lump sum opportunity? Some of the pros and cons, Tony, are the pros. Number one, when you take the lump sum, first of all, are you going to take that out and claim it as income? Well, that could be a huge tax bill this year, the year you take that out. And so you may not want to do that. So most of these pension employers are allowing you with this pension option to roll it into a current 401k or employer plan. So you have to find out if your current employer will allow that. And number two, is it in your best interest to do that? Or should you roll it into a individual IRA? Not a Roth IRA to begin with, usually, Tony. We can kind of touch on that a little later in the show if we have time, but roll it into an IRA. So what that does, it allows you to take money out of the corporate pension plan and put it into your own IRA with, for the most part, no taxes and no fees. That's a qualified rollover. Now, some of the pros in that, the benefits are you control the investment, meaning you get to pick the custodian it's at. Maybe you pick Fidelity. Maybe you pick Charles Schwab. Maybe you pick any other insurance or investment company out there, and you get to pick what you're invested in: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, REITs, annuities, CDs, whatever you want. Whereas when you leave the money inside a pension plan, you don't get to pick any of that stuff. You could create your own personalized income strategy. So if you leave the money with the employer inside that pension plan, you don't have any control or flexibility over the amount of money you're going to get, other than when do you take the payout and do you take a less amount to provide for your spouse. Whereas if you could take the lump sum and put it in your own IRA, you truly can create a personalized income strategy exactly when you take it, exactly how much you take it. Maybe are you going to give yourself a 3% or a 5% cost of living COLA adjustment per year? Or in the first 5 or 10 years of retirement, are you going to take twice as much pension because that's when you're younger, healthier, spending more money, and later in life, maybe you don't. So there's a lot of flexibility and creativity you keep if you are able to take a lump sum of that pension. Also, the potential for legacy and wealth transfer. For the most part, most pensions, even if you take a spousal benefit option, once both you and the spouse have passed away, the money's gone. It doesn't trickle down to the family, the kids, the grandkids, the family members, right? It kind of just stays in the pension plan. Well, if you take a lump sum of your pension and you pass away with any money left inside that plan, you can pass that on to your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, nephews. You can truly leave a legacy and wealth transfer with those dollars.
Your beneficiary designations on the IRA that you put it into, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Which ultimately, on most pensions, even if you take a reduced amount to provide for the spouse, once both you and the spouse are gone, ultimately the beneficiary is the employer. That's the pension fund. That's how they were set up.
Yeah.
Whereas when if you have a lump sum option and you take lump sum and roll it into your IRA, you now control the investment. You control where it's at. You control how it's invested. You control all the risk. You control all the return. You control the income, how much, when. You also get to control who gets the money when you're gone.
So there are some good pros to the lump sum or taking the buyout.
Yeah, there sure
What are the cons, though?
Okay, so here's some of the cons. So we talked about it a few minutes ago when you said your 22-year-old daughter, she's putting $300 away a month into a Roth IRA. She has discipline. She is committed. She has a strategy, and she's disciplined to hold that strategy. You said it yourself, and I was probably the same boat. 30 years ago, we probably didn't have the discipline to say, I'm going to take $300. We might not have. So that's a con. That is a downside, that if you don't have the discipline to build a strategy and to commit to that strategy, stay disciplined to it and hold that strategy through and make sure it fulfills itself in the end, or you make sure it fulfills in the end, then maybe having all the control, maybe having all the flexibility and all the choices and options with that money, maybe it's not in your best interest. So if you don't have the discipline or the control, or you don't have a strategy, maybe leaving it in the pension is best.
Yeah.
Or find somebody that can help you build a strategy and that can hold you accountable and hold you disciplined so that you do fulfill that what's in your best interest. So that's one definitely a downside. It does take very strong financial discipline. It takes a strategy. Sometimes it takes a team to help you with that strategy and discipline, because again, things change over time and you want to be able to change your strategy and discipline as those things permit, as well as risk. Some people say, great, I'm going to take this IRA lump sum, this pension lump sum, put it in IRA, I'm going to throw it all in the stock market, and I'm going to become a millionaire in a week. and they put it all in who knows what, right? And all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, I'm down 20%. Uh-oh, I'm down 50%.
Market risk.
Uh-oh, my pension's gone. Yeah, market risk, interest rate risk, inflation risk, poor management risk, whatever it might be. So again, you need to have a discipline. You need to have a strategy that should help you mitigate any of those risks. And then if this money was truly meant for retirement income, not only is risk important when we talk about the market, but it's, are you providing yourself with the right tools and vehicles to give you maximum income into retirement? Because if not, that's retirement income risk. And that can put you in a bad position as well.
Yeah. Good point. I think those are things you have to look at. Of course, if you're going to take the lump sum, it does give you a lot more control. There's probably more strategies you can utilize then. Mm-hmm. However, to properly utilize them and make sure you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, you need to work with a trusted financial professional like yourself. I wouldn't do the buyout option unless I was working on a plan from a fiduciary who's going to look out for my best interests, who's been doing this, knows what they're doing, like you and your team there at Great Lakes Investment Advisors. That's what you do. I know that you also have to weigh the amounts. If you sit and do the math, typically a buyout, a lot of them might be a little less. Like if you added up, what would I get for my pension? Well, you don't know how you could get hit by a bus tomorrow, and
Absolutely.
your
There's a lot of
pension.
unknown variables.
You don't know how much you're going to get if you take the long-term payout option, if that's an option,
Correct.
instead of the buyout, instead of the lump sum buyout. The lump sum, if you add up, if I live until 95, I'm going to get way more from the lifetime pension than the buyout, or at least some more. So I want to go with the lifetime pension. Well, what if you don't live to 95? And again, you don't have control over that money. So I think sometimes the pension, the buyout might be worth it, but only if you're working with a trusted financial professional. And you got to do the math. You got to look at it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And you got to be careful. Because as I mentioned, once you make this decision and you sign that dotted line, it's done. You're not changing, you're not going back. So if you find out later, I got a big tax bill because I accidentally took lump sum cash out, not a rollover. Well, that's too bad. That's the way it is. The IRS usually doesn't let you go back, nor does the pension provider. So you want to make sure you're doing this right. And that's why I tell people, don't rush. If you get a pension buyout letter in the mail or an option, a lot of times they give you a time frame, like by a certain deadline it has to be done by. Don't push that off. Right away, start looking into this. Start doing your own research, your own
Talk to
due
a
diligence.
professional.
Yes, give us a call or somebody else and sit down and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Okay,
In
because a
fact,
lot of stuff is time sensitive.
it is. In fact, let's do a really quick break, and then we'll do kind of a checklist for people before we go. But all you have to do, if you have this coming up, give Jason a call and his team there at Great Lakes, 989-835-7203. That number again, 989-835-7203. All right. So today on your Financial Empower Hour, we've been talking about pensions. What should you do? Should you take the lump sum or not? And you've given us some great pros and cons. Obviously, it's important. You have to consider taxes. That's a big part of it. There are annuity options. There's a lot of strategies involved, aren't there? So in the few minutes we have left, maybe wrap this up for us.
Yeah, so I think it is important if you're getting to the age of retirement and you have a pension provided by your employer, it's really important to take your time through those decisions. Or if you have from a current or previous employer, you've recently received or in the future receive a letter or notice that they're going to buy you out of your pension. You have an option anyhow to do a lump sum pension buyout. I highly encourage you to take some time, really study what those options are, and then sit down and work with a trusted fiduciary advisor, whether it's myself, another member of my team, or anyone else out there that you truly trust to help you that's been in the trenches, that's made these decisions before, that's been working year after year. We've been here for 23 years helping retirees and pre-retirees make these decisions with their finances. So get someone who's experienced to go through your choices and options, because every single investor and every family truly has different options. We are all in different positions. You want to take into consideration spouse if you're married. You want to take into consideration longevity in both your families.
Yeah, your health.
Yeah. Health history in both your families, other income sources for you and for your spouse. You want to take into consideration blended family or not. You want to take into consideration beneficiaries. If you and your spouse pass on, who's going to get this money? Who do you want to receive this benefit that truly has been yours, that you've earned over time? So there's a lot of choices and options. I highly recommend working with trusted professionals, even a tax professional like a CPA, to ask them, what are the current tax consequences if I take this pension with my other income I have coming in? And what are the benefits from these certain options and choices I have? Because just like every other decision in life that we make, Tony, every choice we make has pros and cons. There's some potential benefits and potential pitfalls or negative outcomes. So you just want to make sure you really get it right. I mean, really, once you make this decision, it's finalized. So, make sure you're taking a look at the big picture. Don't forget about your spouse. Don't forget about the tax consequences. Don't forget about the kids and the grandkids. And don't forget about maybe your health, right? I mean, the longevity and health wise, that, and what is your retirement lifestyle going to look like? What do you want retirement to be like? How much money are you going to need to live retirement comfortably? How much are you going to provide for yourself, and how much is the employer or the government going to provide for you? All these, Tony, are huge. I'm going to call it thought starters, right? So I like
Right.
to plant a lot of seeds as thought starters in people's minds and say, well, before we make these decisions, take some of these seeds, take some of these thought starters, chew on them for a little while, think about it, and then let's sit down and have another talk. A lot of times, once you think things over for a few days, you start having a different mindset and a different thought pattern. And usually that's the better pattern to have. That's the better decision to make, because you truly thought about it versus just, well, I got an option to do this, and this is what Susie or Billy or Bobby did, so that's what we're going to. Slow down. Slow down, take your time, look at what all your choices and options are. Real quick, let's leave a quick little checklist right at the end here. First of all, you're not alone. There's a lot of employers that have been providing these options for employees. There's a lot of employees that are making these same decisions you are. And there's a lot of advisors like myself and my team that have been doing this for 20 some years in the trenches, helping you make the right decisions. So don't be shy to reach out for help. Quick checklist I want to leave you with, Tony, before we go. Understand what all your pension options are, all of them. Know your retirement income needs. What do you think your income needs are going to be into and through retirement? Evaluate your health and your life expectancy of both you and your spouse. Review your survivor needs. What are the needs and benefits available to each plan? Calculate the potential taxes now and down the road in the future on that different source of income. And number 6, probably most importantly, speak to a financial service professional. Don't do it alone. These decisions aren't meant for you to make alone. These decisions are meant to benefit you and your family and have a very powerful impact financially on your family. Sometimes these decisions, you need help. They take a sounding board, whether it's a 5-minute phone call or a 2-hour visit. That's what we're here for. So don't be shy to reach out to us or anybody else that you trust in your life in the financial world, whether it be a 401k decision, a life insurance decision, a pension option decision, whatever that might be. That's what we do. We're here to help.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Great show today about pension and pension buyouts, pensions and pension buyouts. And listeners, give Jason and his team a call. Don't do it without them. 989-835-7203. Again, that's 989-835-7203. Or go to GreatLakesInvestmentAdvisors.com. That's GreatLakesInvestmentAdvisors.com. And that does it for today's episode of Your Financial Empower Hour with our host, Jason Cryderman.